When I first started gardening, I thought success was all about soil amendments, fertilizers, and keeping things tidy. I raked every leaf, trimmed every bush, and waged war against pests. My backyard looked neat, but my plants were struggling, weak growth, pest problems, and disappointing harvests. Something was missing. I raked every leaf, trimmed every bush, and waged war against pests. My backyard looked neat, but my plants were struggling, weak growth, pest problems, and disappointing harvests. The turning point came when I realized a garden is not just about the plants, it's about the entire ecosystem. The secret to thriving plants wasn't just feeding them directly. It was about creating a balanced environment where wildlife, pollinators, and even the tiniest insects could play their part. So I made a decision. Instead of fighting nature, I would invite it in. That's when I started transforming my backyard into a wildlife haven. And what happened next completely changed my gardening journey. The first thing I noticed was that my garden was just too sterile. Wildlife needs places to hide, nest, and rest, but I had removed all the messy bits that would have actually helped them. So I changed my approach. In one corner, I left a pile of branches and logs. It didn't look perfect, but it quickly became home to beneficial insects, frogs, and lizards. I allowed one patch of my yard to grow wild with native grasses and wildflowers. Almost overnight, butterflies and bees appeared, and ladybugs began patrolling my vegetable beds. By letting go of perfection, I had opened the door to balance. Step 2. Adding water sources. Next I realized, water is life, not just for plants but honestly for every living creature in the garden. I placed a bird bath near my vegetable patch, set out a shallow dish filled with pebbles for bees and butterflies, and even dug a small pond with aquatic plants. The change was, incredible. Birds began visiting daily, drinking and bathing while also eating caterpillars and beetles off my crops. Frogs moved into the pond and started tackling mosquitoes. Bees buzzed around the water dish before heading to pollinate my tomatoes and cucumbers. A simple addition, fresh water, sparked an explosion of life. Step 3. Planting native species. To support wildlife long-term, I began adding native plants to my garden. At first, my space was full of vegetables and a few ornamentals, but I needed plants that belonged here. Plants, local insects, birds, and pollinators evolved with. To support wildlife long-term, I began adding native plants to my garden. At first, my space was full of vegetables and a few ornamentals, but I needed plants that belonged here. Plants, local insects, birds, and pollinators evolved with. Coneflowers, milkweed, and goldenrod brought in butterflies and native bees. Berry bushes offered food for birds. Suddenly, I had an interconnected system. Insects fed the birds kept pests under control, and all of them helped pollinate my crops. Instead of relying on pesticides or constant intervention, my garden was beginning to manage itself. Step 4. Letting go of perfection. One of the hardest lessons was embracing imperfection. For years, I saw pests as enemies and weeds as failures. When aphids appeared on my roses, instead of panicking, I waited. Within days, ladybugs moved in and cleaned up the infestation, not just on the roses, but across my vegetable patch too. When I let dandelions bloom, they provided nectar for bees before other flowers emerged. By letting small problems exist, I attracted the very solutions I needed. Step 5. Ditching chemicals for good. Of course, none of this would have worked if I kept spraying chemicals. Pesticides and herbicides don't just kill pests. They also harm bees, butterflies, and birds. So I made the switch. So I started using compost mulch and organic soil amendments instead of synthetic fertilizers. For pest management, I leaned on natural methods like neem oil companion planting and, encouraging predatory insects. This made my backyard a safe zone where wildlife could thrive without fear. The payoff? Stronger soil, healthier plants, and a balanced ecosystem that worked for me, not against me. Step 6. Year-round food and shelter. To keep the cycle going, I made sure wildlife had a reason to stay all year long. I planted flowers that bloom in different seasons, left sunflower seed heads for the birds, and let some herbs bolt to feed pollinators. In winter, I left leaf litter and hollow stems so insects could overwinter safely. Instead of cleaning everything up, I learned to see the garden as a sanctuary, even in the off-season. The results? Well, it was truly a living, breathing garden. The transformation, honestly, blew me away. My once quiet backyard was suddenly alive with birdsong, buzzing bees, fluttering wings, and even the occasional frog croak by the pond. It was quite simply magical. And the plants? Oh, they responded in ways I could hardly believe. It was as if they were thanking me for the changes, growing more vibrant and lush than ever before. My vegetables grew stronger and resisted pests. My flowers bloomed longer and brighter. My harvest became bigger and healthier. I had created a self-sustaining system where nature did the heavy lifting for me. But beyond the practical benefits, the joy was unmatched. Gardening stopped being just about pulling weeds and watering plants. It became about connection with the land, the creatures that visited daily, and the cycle of life unfolding right in front of me. Your turn to transform your backyard. If you've been struggling with pests, poor yields, or a garden that feels lifeless, the answer might not be more chemicals or fancy tools. The answer might be to welcome nature back in. Start small. Add a water source, plant a patch of wildflowers, or leave some leaf litter in a quiet corner. Watch what happens when you let nature help you. Your backyard can become more than just a garden. It can become a thriving haven where wildlife and plants work together to create beauty, abundance, and balance. And if you want more tips on creating a garden that thrives naturally, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Join me, and let's keep learning how to garden with nature, not against it.